Hello everyone, it's me, Juan Gamer54, back in another video. Today, we're going to be reacting to Game Theory, um, Cooking Companions. So, I literally have no idea what this game is about, to be honest. I don't really know, to be honest. But I did see like a couple bit of it. A couple bit. Apparently, I even saw one about Super Hobo Mike. Like, one day I was, like, looking through my phone and I see Super Hobo Mike just post, basically, Doki Doki Literature Club Cooking Edition. And I was like, "Er?" So I was figured, why not? Let's do it. Completely blind to it. I have no idea what's going to store in for us.
By switching to
Oh, come on!
bags, you're picking a more... Hello again.
Oh.
It's been so long.
Hey, Monica.
Did you miss me? Because I definitely missed you. I've been watching you, through the screen. Watching you do things. Don't be shy. It's okay. I'm here for you.
What do you mean?
It's so great we get to spend this time together, just you and me.
Oh, God!
How did I do? Was it perfect? Now it really can be just us. And look, dinner's already served.
Oh, God, Monica, what have they done to you?
Internet, welcome.
How dare you? Oh, God, I was not expecting that.
The Game Theory, the show that's part of a balanced YouTube diet. You've got your math, science, history, lore, and cannibalism. That's right, friends, it's the return of Cannibalism Crossover Weekend. 'Cause
What?
nothing says brand-safe online content quite like discussing proper nutrition. We're trapped in a situation where the only food source is human flesh. Last year around this time, we did a three-way collab with the channels where each one talked about cannibalism in some unique way. And this year, we're bringing it back. Over on Food Theory, we're learning about what clothes you can safely eat before you have to resort to nibbling a knee. And over on Film Theory, well, okay, it's just a two-way crossover between Game Theory and Food Theory. The timing of the cannibalism episode didn't work out over on Film Theory, and I really wanted to talk about the back rooms, okay?
Yeah, I forgot. MadPet did that whole cannibalism theme week. Huh. I don't know if I should react. I don't know if I want to do a reaction of that, but that was a crazy time.
Resist that sweet, sweet lore. Anyway, that food theory about eating clothes was largely inspired by the game we're talking about today, Cooking Companions, a visual novel-style game produced by Dear Dream Studios, a team that saw Doki Doki Literature Club and said, "Hold my carving knife."
No, not Yari 2.
It keeps drawing me in. I mean, maybe it's the fun characters, or the really cute anime art style, or the, oh, yep, that one. It's definitely the scary hidden lore. And boy, does Cooking Companions have
That
lore
disturbed me.
intrigue for days. On the surface, it appears to be a story of 5 characters trapped in a remote cabin with no supplies, eventually forced to turn on each other in order to survive. Now, that alone would be pretty darn bleak, but bit by bit, we start seeing hints to an even darker backstory. Secret notes in the bathroom, locked doors in the basement, bones under the floorboards, nightmares that suggest the sins of our past, and hints that this same scenario has played out thousands of times before. So who are we really? What horrors have happened inside this cabin? And seriously, why are we being stalked by a team of talking vegetables? I mentioned that one, right? The talking vegetables? No? Yeah,
No,
that's
you
the
have
thing,
not.
too. So I hope you're hungry, because I've got some freshly carved lore all ready to serve up. First, since this game has been criminally underplayed on YouTube, let me catch you up. Like
All
most
right.
visual novels, you play as the unseen protagonist, and you start the game in a cabin with your 4 friends: Innocent Mariah, Eager Anatoly, Compassionate Gregor, and Karen. Who's a Karen?
Last time I was in here, I asked for an almond shape, an almond shape, and I got something else. So if you just do what I ask, that would be great.
It appears
We ain't never going to obey you, Karens. Never. You. I will never obey a Karen. How dare you? This is a Karen-free zone. All right, you don't see it, but I grabbed my pitchfork.
that you've gotten lost and you found this cabin to stay in for a few nights as you regroup. And we are named chef of the group. In true dating sim form, you spend your first few days exploring the cabin and interacting with the characters to build relationships, learning more about their unique backstories as you go. By choosing to visit the right rooms at the right times, you also find hidden notes in the bathroom or under floorboards. But 2 days in, things start to take a turn. Your rations run out and a storm rolls in that prevents you from leaving the cabin. With starvation very quickly setting in, we begin to have nightmares describing horrifying scenes, drowning, being cooked alive, hot pokers in the eye. With seemingly no hope of survival, Mariah offers to swim through the floodwaters in an effort to find help or food. But we all know the truth. You have a tearful goodbye with her as she leaves the cabin, never to be seen again. In completely unrelated news, we managed to find ourselves a new source of mystery meat. Huh, how lucky. Guess we're gonna be eating good tonight. But that mystery meat can only last for so long. One by one, we lose people from the cabin. First Anatoly, and then Gregor, leaving us alone with just Karen. Just Karen. Just Karen. Just Karen. Who really takes a liking to the whole eating human flesh thing. Fun fact.
Oh no, so you would... Oh, come on, not her. I mean, I would have... The name Karen should have was a red herring. Literally, she had red hair.
Something that real-world scientists have observed in cannibals. It's not something chemically in the meat, but it's a high. The euphoria that they get from doing something that they know is wrong on a deeply human level that becomes addictive. Kind of like Pringles. Once you pop, the cannibalism don't stop. As the days drag on, the cabin becomes haunted by the meals of our past. All the while, Karen starts looking a bit too eager and a bit too hungry. So we end up locking her in the basement. Eventually, we're like, she's gotta be dead, right? And we go down in the basement, but obviously she's not. Classic girl tries to kill boy, boy pulls an Uno reverse card, steals girl's knife and plunges it into her chest. The end. Or so I thought. I actually finished my playthrough on GT Live before getting to the final twist because I am a big brain gamer. Alright, friends. There you have it. I've been watching Marvel movies for years. There's always a post-credit scene. What was I thinking? Anyway, fortunately, I did go back and clean up some of the endings, and it's at this point that we find out how our characters actually wound up in the cabin. See, it turns out that you were never part of the group. This is your cabin. All the others just stumbled across you when they got lost. The group explains their situation, but then you, quote, ask the questions you've asked thousands of times. Did you come on your own free will, or were you sent? When they say that they come on their own free will, but were also technically sent, we see that they, quote, answered incorrectly. Wait, sorry, what?
Excuse me?
You've asked this question before? Is this some sort of a time loop? Or are we all in purgatory and keep having to relive this situation in order to, find a solution where we don't end up eating our friends? What is going on here? Oh, and again, there are vegetables called the chompettes that talk to you when no one else is around. Probably shouldn't...
What? Excuse me? Excuse me, Mr. Matt? Talking food. You'd think after my many years of reading FNAF books and seeing lots of indies, you would think that talking food would not, surprise me. But here we are. I'm being surprised that there's talking food. What does that say that about me?
A nightmare mode and a new game plus and a mode that drops you straight into Cuphead.
What?
I'm sorry.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
I'm sorry, what?
What?
What? What world are we living in here? Okay, there's clearly a lot to unpack inside of this thing, but it really boils down to two main mysteries. The first is what's actually going on inside the cabin. What's up with the mysterious notes, the nightmares, who are we, and what does the whole ending sequence about being sent versus free will mean? The second main mystery has to do with the chompettes, those little anthropomorphized food friends that I keep bringing up but also avoiding, because again, there's a lot there to discuss. You'd think that they're just figments of your cannibalism-addled imagination, but they are so much more. So let's start with the basics, shall we? Who these people are and what they're doing here. When the food starts to run out, Mariah says this, quote,
you got me intrigued. Alright, you got me intrigued. Look, what is this? What is this? What is this what is this world these characters are living in? I'm gonna just keep playing. Just keep playing, Juan. You'll find the answers. She is kind of cute, though. I will say that. Wait a minute, should I really... Hold on, let me go check. Okay, so, trying looking through, because Apparently it's being created. Apparently this game is so underutilized that it don't even have a wiki. So I'm just gonna say she's cute. We'll leave it as that. So we're just gonna say that she's cute and let's leave it
Jam
at that.
isn't much of a meal, but it's more than we had when we left Ukraine.
Now, obviously, that's just a one-off comment. But if you max out your relationship with Mariah, she confesses that the situation in the cabin isn't nearly as bad as what they left in the Ukraine. Given at this point you've basically run out of food with no chance of finding more, that is quite the statement. She continues, quote,
Our village went mad from starvation after the rationing got extreme. Parents sending their children to orphanages instead of letting them starve at home. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Eventually, we decided we needed to escape, so we stole supplies until we had enough for the journey. To keep our spirits up, Gregor described it as a vacation. You don't usually face death during a vacation, though.
It also gets brought up by Karen again in the final battle, saying repeatedly that she should have never left Ukraine. And it's at this point that I'd like to mention the giant elephant in the room. While yes, I'm making jokes about cannibalism in this game, none of it is to make light of the situation that's currently happening over in the Ukraine right now, or honestly, Ukraine in the past. Sadly, this is a part of the world that's had to deal with a lot of horrific and tragic events, some of which we're actually about to discuss as part of the context for this game. It is pure coincidence that Cooking Companions came out, and only months later, the country is now suddenly embroiled in war. This is not meant to make light of anything happening there. I'm making this video to talk about a cool new game with very interesting lore made by a team of passionate creators who made something that I just want more people to know about. And thanks to their game, I became more aware of the folklore and history coming from that part of the world. And as a result, I've grown a greater sense of appreciation for the people that are currently being affected by the terrible, violent actions that are happening. In making this video and sharing it with you, I'm hopeful that you're able to take away some of that too. Our hearts are with everyone who's been affected, all the families that have been displaced or torn apart. So if anything in this video inspires you to help the people in that region of the world, we're linking to relevant charities down in the description that are
Honestly, I didn't want to touch anything about personal matters, but every single time I look at what's going on with Ukraine, all I can do was shake my head. Shake my head on why this is happening. That's all I have to say, because if I go even further, just know I have lots of words. Words that would most likely, let's just say, words that are unpleasant to the ears.
The refugees right now. Back to the game, though, it's also worth noting that Ukraine is...
Here, I'll help you guys out. Right here, guys. Right here. Our hearts are with Ukraine.
mentioned. Like any good indie horror title, there are hidden clues scattered throughout which come in the form of handwritten notes that you can only have access to by exploring the right rooms on the right days and by clicking certain interact options multiple times. It is not easy to find this stuff, but when you do find them, two mention Zakopane, a little Polish town about 186 miles or 300 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. We also get more location hints thanks to the appetizer edition of the game, a standalone Cooking Companions experience released a few months prior to the main title. In it, you get quizzed by the Chompettes on general trivia, all with hints of that sweet, sweet lore. One of the questions, for instance, asks us where we are, and the correct answer turns out to be the Tatras Mountains, a forested mountain range that sits between Poland and Slovakia. And wouldn't you know it, but just north of the Tatras Mountains is none other than the little town of Zakopane. Combine that with Mariah's comments about needing to escape from Ukraine, and it seems very clear that Mariah, Gregor, Anatoly, and Karen are Ukrainian refugees. But refugees of what? If you follow Anatoly's romance line instead of Mariah's, you end up learning that his dog died when he was 6. This dog apparently meant a lot to his father as it helped him find food during, quote, the war. Obviously, there are a lot of wars, so which one could he possibly be talking about? Well, it appears to be World War I. You see, we're told in the extras menu that Anatoly is 25. With World War I being between 1914 and 1918, that would mean the game likely takes place between 1933 and 1937. And all of this lines up with the very real, very tragic horrific event in the history of Ukraine known as Holodomor. Holodomor is a famine that took place in Soviet Ukraine between 1932 and 1933. Its name is a term derived from the Ukrainian words for hunger, holod, and extermination, more. And it was just as brutal as Mariah describes. To grossly oversimplify the events here, dictator Joseph Stalin aggressively seized control of the farmland and personal property of peasants in order for it to be controlled by the communist Soviet government. This collectivization movement failed due to government disorganization, which destroyed rural economies and led to massive food shortages across the country. When peasants started to rebel against these policies in Ukraine, especially in provinces that had previously fought against the Red Army during the Russian Civil War, Stalin decided it was time to crack down and assert control by creating blacklists of towns that wouldn't receive the government-controlled food. Police were also sent to ransack homes and take anything that was edible: crops, personal food supplies, pets. In the end, at least 5 million people died of hunger resulting from the Great Famine, at least 3.9 million of which were Ukrainian. And much like our characters in Cooking Companions, the food situation got so bad that people had to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. A doctor wrote in 1933 that she had not yet become a cannibal, but was, quote, "not sure that I shall not be one by the time my letter reaches you. The good people died first. Those who refused to steal or to prostitute themselves died. Those who gave food to others died. Those who refused to eat corpses died. Those who refused to kill their fellow man died. Parents who resisted cannibalism died before their children did," end quote. So it seems like our four cabin friends are refugees running away from the Holodomor horrors that are happening over in the Soviet states. But that then leaves the question of, who are we? Well, let's just think about what we do know about our character. We're a cannibal that lives in some cabin in the forested mountains of Poland and Slovakia. We also know that
So
we're
we're
hideous to look
cannibal
at.
too in
If
this
our
game?
four
Come on.
companions' reaction to us when we first arrive is anything to go by during that twist ending. We also ask this really random, really specific question about free will versus being sent that apparently has itself a right and wrong answer. So I started there with that very specific question and immediately got back information on a supernatural being called the Baba Yaga, a character from Slavic folklore, so we're in the right part of the world, who lives in a remote cabin, check again, often described as an old hag with a deformed appearance. Again, just like our hideous appearance in the game. She's also known to cannibalize the visitors to her home. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a bingo. And here's the kicker. Baba Yaga is known for asking that specific free will versus scent question. Apparently the correct answer for that is, I am here 75% of my own free will, 65% by compulsion, which, if you do the math, totals up to 140%. So, I don't know, maybe she needs some math classes in addition to the Chompets teaching her cooking classes. In fact, the more you look at the game, the more we find connecting us back to Baba Yaga. Sometimes her cabin stands on chicken legs, and would you know it, but we can find a chicken bone in the bedroom underneath the floorboards as a little Easter egg back to that original story. Not only that, but Karen is actually designed to look very similar to another character from Slavic folklore, Vasilisa the Beautiful, a girl that finds Baba Yaga in the woods during her own story. Even our nightmares between days of the game point to stories that involve the Baba Yaga. The second dream we get about being shoved into an oven closely follows the Russian folktale Ivanushka, where a boy refuses to be cooked in Baba Yaga's oven and instead tricks her into showing him how, trapping her in the oven and cooking her alive. So there you have it. We are the Baba Yaga, a cannibal that feasts on those that are lost in the woods. And our latest victims are an unlucky group of refugees running away from a famine in their home country. Except that's still not quite the whole story.
I know, I did not just hear a car just doing that while I'm recording.
Nightmare mode of Cooking Companions, we get this line: you lost more of your humanity. They actually use it multiple times, but if we just lost some of our humanity, that then implies that we had humanity to start off with, right? We're not just some evil supernatural force, we're a human possessed by a supernatural force. And the game seems to back this up. After Mariah leaves...
Of course, we're possessed by a spirit. Why am I not surprised? It's always possessing with it's always possessions. Humans being possessed by the supernatural. I mean, hey, even FNAF did it. Glitch Trap possessed Vanny, I suppose. Ah, boy.
The cabin, we have a dream about desecrating a corpse. Then we wake up in a different room than when we fell asleep, having some sort of mystery meat. This happens again when Anatoly leaves the cabin. We dream about putting his glasses aside and cutting him up. Suddenly, we wake up with more meat. The game tells you explicitly on a few occasions that you've been sleepwalking, which the Chompette Potato confirms in more detail. Quote,
"In the first week with the red-haired woman and the others, where did you sleep? If I can be honest, it was truly horrific to witness. You would routinely collapse in the middle of the hallway, sleepwalking into walls, or worse, going down into the basement."
This proves
That's
that
the
our
Potato's
non-folklore
voice?
dreams, the ones where we chop people up, were not only real, but happening while we were asleep. We weren't fully in control of our actions, and something is keeping us alive beyond what's normal. The Chompettes do seem to believe that if you're killed, Karen will take over the cabin, implying that the spirit of Baba Yaga can be passed from person to person in order to protect the cabin and the spirits that reside in it. So that just leaves us with one final question. How did we end up with the power of Baba Yaga? If we were potentially going to pass it on to Karen if we lost the final battle, then wouldn't it make sense for us to have gained it from someone before us? Well, fear not, dear theorists, because I'm pretty confident that I know how we got here. And it has
How?
everything to do with the most iconic characters from the franchise. Characters that you'll notice I still really haven't mentioned all that much today. I'm talking, of course, about the Chompettes. More specifically, I think Potato is the key putting this whole thing together. He feels like the odd one of the group, not wanting to participate in the other Chompettes games. He knows a lot about the caloric needs of the human body, and he gives off some strong murder vibes. Let's just call it a hunch, or maybe the fact that he gives us a secret recipe explicitly called slaughter stew. Could he have been the previous Baba Yaga? The answer to that question is gonna have to wait until part 2. I know, it's frustrating,
What?
but the Chompettes come with a lot of mysteries that merit a full episode.
Excuse me? Excuse me? What? There's a part 2? And what's going on? Guys! Kevin! Stop sending messages! Oh god. Okay, well, that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.